Like the first game, Mossbook 2 is a game that I would put in my list of cozy games. It's another game that I'd put in the list of starter games for anybody. It doesn't matter if you're $6.99. Just like Legos, anyone can enjoy this. The storytelling, wonderful. The interaction, wonderful. And just the comfort that you can get from games like this is unmatched. And probably will be one of the few games that people who suffer from virtual motion sickness can actually play. To me, Moss and this genre as a whole are going to be talked about in the history of VR as some of the first games that were introduced to people to have this semi-god perspective within VR and offer a very heightened sense of comfort when it comes to virtual reality, showing people that virtual reality isn't necessarily always required to be first person. It can be third person, and you can still have a good time and make it so that your experience does not cause sickness to other people. With that, I just want to say they did a fantastic job. They improved on so many things I talked about in my Mossbook 1 review. And if you want to watch that, click on the top right. Let's go ahead and move on with the official review of Mossbook 2. The story of Mossbook 2 has us continue where we left off. Unfortunately, our previous allies might not be enough to help hold back the Arcane. Some of those old allies even turn their backs on us to protect their own people. I can't say that I blame them, since what Quill wants to do is essentially the reason the Cinder Night happened. With no one from the past besides our Uncle Argus to help guide us, we must look to someone who has just enough faith in Quill to not let the past fog their judgment for the future. Wanting nothing more than to rid Moss of the Arcane, even if that means working with someone similar to the one that caused Moss to fall in the first place. The story wraps up perfectly in this game, and I don't think there's anything that they really could have done different in any way, shape, or form. One thing I will say is, I wish, and I'm hoping, for more extended universe games from this franchise. I'm hoping that Polyarch has a game in the works that goes over Barnard's backstory or Sahima's backstory, maybe goes through how they survived up until Mossbook 2 and what they had to do to avoid or fight the Arcane on their own terms. I think that would be the most interesting thing that Polyarch could do for the Mossbook series if they want to continue writing within this universe for story-driven games. In the beginning of Mossbook 2, the gameplay kind of picks up where we left off when it comes down to mechanics and the overall expectation of the level design. I mean, obviously it's going to kind of start there with the level design. That's where you ended at the last game. But the way that they continue to build on different mechanics and really progress the game shows how much time and effort they really put into the thought process of how these mechanics should play out and what would feel good to the player that actually allows you to interact even more with the world than you did in Mossbook 1. There's new weapons like the chakram and the hammer. These are used for multiple different types of combat, including used to have additional levels of interaction with the puzzles. And there's a new character. Fantastic. I love it. These are welcome additions to the world of Moss, and although it may not seem like much, some of these puzzles progress at a perfect rate and don't really move up in difficulty too quickly. So again, I'm gonna say it, they put a lot of time and thought into the process of how do we introduce these new things in a way that the player will understand but not necessarily feel like they are missing out on things. I'm not gonna lie though, there were times that I was definitely a little slow. I did not put my thinking cap on, and it took me a little bit longer than it should have to get through some of these puzzles. But once I got through them, I kind of laughed it off and was like, did I really just not like think of this, or what? Sometimes I forget that there's, you know, a little bit of assistance, a little bit of white paint on the walls that you can climb and so on, scratches on those walls. So, and I just get distracted by the beauty of the world that is created by the developers in this game. Just so much of this is just me wanting to, honestly, just give me a game where I can just shuffle through all the realms of Moss and just different catalogs. Just give me a catalog in the menu at this point, because the environments that they built are amazing, and they do a very, very good job at complementing the gameplay and what the player needs to be doing in the moment. While we talk about visuals, there's so many different scenes in Mossbook 2 that you start to wonder how all of these places are actually part of the same game and the same world. Mossbook 1 did not have nearly as many different areas, and nothing against the first book at all, but this game is beautiful. Seeing some of the areas from a human-sized perspective definitely gives you a whole new feeling to some areas and how you might see them when you compare them to real life. I mean, the snowy terrain that we see and looking at the castle from a distance, it kind of makes you think like, hey, is this like a full-blown castle, or what's going on here? And I'm just blown away by how much they are able to do with these different landscapes. If you're someone who likes seeing different type of landscapes or just scapes in general in media, Mossbooks, for that reason alone, like I said, give me a catalog. Let me just scroll through a whole bunch of places that I've played through in this game and just look at them, because they are fantastic. It kind of makes me feel like I was directing a film of some sort with unlimited budget and kind of being able to do whatever I wanted with the visuals. I guess this is kind of what artists feel like when they do stop motion. They're able to say, hey, we want a backdrop that looks like this. They don't have to fly out and do a film set or anything like that. And obviously, video game devs feel that way too. They don't necessarily have to fly out somewhere and look and, you know, use that specific set with their character. They can use those places for reference, but they can build whatever they want, make it look however they want, and it's just amazing. Being able to kind of tower over the creations that they made and admire them from multiple perspectives, it seems like something you could only read about in a book. One of the last things I kind of want to talk about is the sound design, because as per usual, in games like this that have fantastic visuals, you're also going to have fantastic sound design. From the new weapons to the new enemies that you deal with, and just the environments overall, they're complemented so well by the sound design, and even the music is wondrous and really makes you kind of just sit there and at points forget you're even playing a game. It makes you want to relax and just drift off. Some of the areas that you see with all this greenery within the, you know, the Fey realm is what I call it. It's not necessarily the Fey realm, but that's what I call it, where, you know, Veda and the Toad are. It's just, It's wonderful. It's fantastic. And every time I'm there, I just want to close my eyes, lay back, and take a long nap. Because the commentary the complementary music to just the background sound design is amazing. And I don't think I could ask for anything more from the developers. They did a fantastic job with the sound, music, voiceover, just everything. So if it hasn't been completely made clear, yes, please play the Moss series. It's fantastic, and you will fall in love with Quill just like I did. I may be a full-grown adult, and Moss may be rated E10+, but it's important to remember that even games for younger audiences can have an even deeper impact on those who can appreciate the skill that went into crafting something this beautiful. From the story and its characters, all the way down to the smallest kitchen I've ever seen, Mossbook 2 is a VR game that I think everyone who loves VR should play at least once. This is a story that will tear at your heart, leaving you with an empty box of tissues. We need more storytelling games like this, and unfortunately, all we ever see is a sea of PvP VR games that we maybe get 1 or 2 story games a year, and we can hope that at least one of the two is on par with a game like Mossbook. So yes, please add Moss to your library and play it as soon as possible. This is a series I will never forget and will probably reference for many years as one of virtual reality's definitive experiences. I'm Butters with an O, and I want to thank you for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, and I'll see all of you in the next video.